because MSNBC is owned by Comcast, you're never going to hear an honest story about net neutrality. You're never going to hear an honest story about the internet. And here's a headline from Socialist Alternative. And this is so true. COVID-19 crisis really shows that the internet should be a public utility. Now, I saw this first. I got to give a shout out on my friend Jamie's Facebook. I saw it. And this is where I first saw this article. And I don't know if you know this about me, Margaret. I'm a big proponent for municipal broadband internet.
Yes, I knew that. Yes.
Okay. So that's a big thing to me. And for anyone not to know, that's just basically city-owned internet, where the internet is a public utility in your life, the same way your garbage collection is handled or something like that. The internet is treated the same way the city maintains it. This has already happened in the United States, by the way. There's a lot of cities that already have this. Every city that has this, it is better than the internet that big cable offers you, and it is more affordable. Why is that? Well, because the big cable companies formed an organized duopoly back in the day, and their only concern is profit. So there are still underserved areas for internet in this country, and it's because they don't think there's going to be enough money for them to build there, so they don't. And here's something else that's happening connected to this. Back in November, this is from Free Press, back in November, you had a situation where they weren't providing broadband to schools. So what happens is there's still underserved areas. There's still a lot of students in this country, kids in this country, whose families, they don't have access to decent broadband. So one of the things they can do is they'll have residence hotspots. Sometimes it's in a school parking lot. Sometimes it's in a library parking lot. So in May, Philly School District bade Comcast to open the resident hotspot so students could get online. Comcast refused. And what Free Press is pushing for is that this fall, with schools being virtual, at least until November, we need these kids to get online. They need to be online. And Comcast is probably going to refuse again. And how sad and scary is it that we have to rely on Comcast, which wins awards, literally wins awards for being the worst company in the frickin' world. Literally. And we're relying on them for our students' education. And that's the weird thing that's going on here, because now more than ever, more people are waking up to the fact the internet is a public utility in our lives. It needs to be treated as such. We need to have municipal broadband all over the country where the city controls internet infrastructure for the citizens. And, but here's the deal. Amidst the pandemic, it's really hard to raise that issue at your city council, with your city hall, because, gee, we're amidst a pandemic and you want to propose this multi-million-dollar project right now.
Well, this is a perfect time. Who is not depending on the internet now?
Right.
I had a problem with my, I won't even speak their name. I can't stand them. My cable.
The Voldemort of your life.
It was horrible. I had to complain. I finally got the service that I needed, but the whole time this was going on, I said, why do we need cable companies to give us internet? Why do we have this system? And our lousy cable company here, somebody merged with somebody else and created a third worst company to allegedly serve us. And we don't need them. There is no reason why they are the people who give us internet. There's no reason for that at all, except that they, capitalism. That's the reason. And also, if we're going to talk about internet, these platforms should be regulated as public utilities. Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, all of them, they should be public utilities. It's unconscionable that Facebook decides who is and isn't heard, that Israel can say Palestinian groups get kicked off. Or if somebody, I say as far as COVID's concerned, let everybody talk. Let everybody talk. If somebody's a quack, I'll figure it out for myself. You don't have to ban them. The Atlantic Council, which is NATO, deciding what foreign policy Facebook deems acceptable. And this, of course, is the fault of Democrats trying to score points about with Russiagate. that have asked for this censorship that we have on Twitter, that we have on Facebook, that these people who decide that you get kicked off temporarily or permanently, that needs to be regulated. They should not. We depend on these platforms. You can't live without them for entertainment, for news, for everything, to buy stuff. We have to have these platforms. They've become a necessity. And for them to be able to operate in the way that they do without any sort of regulatory oversight is terrible.
Well, does it blow your mind? Because I agree with you 110%. Does it blow your mind how many people miss the mark on that issue?
It does. And I'll tell you one of the things they do that was very shrewd. First, they attack people that nobody likes. So Alex Jones, well, we got to get Alex Jones. He's a psycho. He's a racist. He's a fascist. He's this, he's that. I personally don't care if Alex Jones has a platform. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It bothers me that I can't get the platform that he has. So they start by attacking someone who's outside of the realm of acceptability, and people just go along. Well, of course, it's Alex Jones off. I'm like, let Alex Jones stay, but let me stay, but stop censoring everybody. That is my argument. And I think that's how, that was one of the results of Russiagate. This evil country had given us Donald Trump, and they did it with Facebook memes. So we had the Democrats are behind it. The Senator Warner, who ran to Facebook's headquarters several times in order to bully them and threaten them with God knows what, to start this censorship. I think Facebook, they knew better than anybody that these were clickbait schemes.
They knew it was like $1,400 in Google ads.
Yes.
$1,400.
$1,400 in Google ads. I think it was like $50,000 in Facebook ads, and most of those came after Election Day. I mean, it's just absurd. And one of the Russian-based companies that Mueller indicted, they responded. They ended up throwing the case out of court. So, but that's how it's been done. They use liberals. They are the ones, frankly, to blame for so much of this censorship. Yeah, and it's very, very dangerous, and it's very sad.
Well, how do you not? I mean, it's just, I don't understand how so many people just haven't connected those very obvious dots where it's like, look, a Silicon Valley person shouldn't decide what is or isn't real news and what you should or shouldn't see. It just makes zero sense. When you're reading the news as a consumer, do you go, I don't know if this is real news or not. I better call the Geek Squad. Nobody does that. It makes zero sense. Where's the connection there? Yet that's basically what they're calling for. What should happen is these things should be public utilities, and there should be some constitutional lawyers involved. Because look, and I will say this, I think that the free speech laws in the United States are pretty darn good. Are they perfect? Of course not. There is no such thing as perfection in this area. It's not possible. But I think the free speech laws in the United States are pretty darn good. It's better than what I would come up with on my own, I bet. So you have people that specialize in those issues, and they make sure that if you're not violating the free speech laws of this country, you're not censored.
Basically, that's that. Let's just go along with that. That's it. That's all. Let everybody talk. And if somebody offends me, I don't have to read them. I don't have to watch them. But if there's somebody I do want to watch, I should be able to decide that for myself and not have Trump say that I can't have TikTok because the Chinese Communist Party will have my data.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's horrible. And,
that
the NSA has all of our data, but never mind. And these platforms I'm talking about turn over information to the government all the time. But this is how, and liberals have to be a little more humble and admit that they like to point fingers at the right wing for being stupid, but their liberals have their own failings too, and they love technology. So they, worship these companies like they're gods. And it needs to stop. It really does need to stop. And this is why we need real democracy, small d democracy, where we decide who gives us internet access. And we decide what the police do in our communities. And we decide what kind of health care we can have. All of these things that are so important in our lives are taken. The power to do anything about them has just been taken away from us. And then you don't have a democracy. I don't care if they let you vote. I don't care if there are elections. If you can't control the things that have power over your life, then you don't have a democracy. You just don't.
Well, wasn't the TikTok thing so interesting? Because first of all, I always found it mildly comical whenever somebody would be warning about TikTok on Twitter and Facebook. And also, isn't it interesting?
I know.
Chuck Schumer, the only time Chuck Schumer will stand up to a corporation is when they're making an app that Donald Trump doesn't like, or they're behind an app that Donald Trump doesn't like. Isn't that beyond fascinating?
It is. It shows you they don't have issues with each other. When it comes down to the people with money, they're all on the same team. And I actually think the Democrats can live with Trump. They use him as a foil. They use him to shut people up. They use him to get people to give them money. But at the end of the day, they're on the same team. This TikTok thing is a joke. They have used this phobia against China to basically steal this Chinese corporation and give it to an American corporation so they can operate here in the United States. That's all. And everybody's in favor of it. No one says no. No one speaks up. We see they're all on the same team. When it comes to money for U.S. corporations, they're all friends.
Mm-hmm.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and